Boom, boom. All right. Okay, so here we are back again, the Lumbertron podcast. RC Clark is here again. He just couldn't stay away.
Couldn't.
Couldn't stay away.
Not from Tyler.
Bringing that raucous optimism, righteous positivity. And I think today the topic, general direction, the intention of this talk is going to be about self-talk, mindset, the positive and negative messages that I play in my head, in your head, and perhaps how to make them serve me a little better, maybe. Yeah. Might talk about some tips. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay.
So
What do you got?
Well, yeah, self-care, pursuit of joy. Yeah, I don't know. My thinking about thoughts is that, I just kind of had this thought, like a couple minutes ago before coming on here, is that, we kind of take thoughts for granted, and it's like so normal to like have language, in our time, like just to be able to like put words together in language. A lot of times we forget that words are just sounds, and like where these sounds stem from, they stemmed from emotions. Like we saw something in the environment, we had this emotional response, and then we decided to like associate a sound with that emotional response, or to maybe give someone else an emotional response, to create action in someone else. And so we have these words that come in our heads, or like thoughts. We're like thinking thoughts all the time. They're like, thoughts, but we kind of just think that's normal. And it is normal. Like even before we had language, we were probably, we're thinking about stuff all the time. Of course, we're always thinking, but maybe it's more in images, or maybe it was more in like sounds. But these days, it's like, it's like a basic primal thing. But like maybe now we're kind of so, we're kind of more, I guess, advanced. Like we've become more and more self-aware as time has gone on. And everything we do has like a lot of energy behind it. It's got a lot of like meaning behind it. Like we're at this point in technology, words were technology. Everything that was new is a technology. Technology is, it's not just computers. It's not just tech. Technology is like, like smashing a rock. That was technology, and language is a technology.
Yeah, language, writing.
So technology. Yeah, writing. And it's gotten so advanced that a single word can do so much for us. A word can impact us so emotionally. And so the words in our heads, they impact us so much that they can make us commit suicide. They can make us commit suicide, or they can take us to the greatest, heights of human achievement. And thing is with these words, it's no accident. It's no accident that they get us there. It's not some mystery. Self-talk gets us to places. So it's just a matter of how can you use self-talk to get you somewhere, and if it's impacting you negatively, how can you change that to make it affect you positively? So yeah.
I know. For me, it's hard. It's hard to come out of that. If I'm stuck in a mindset, like I think of winding down at the end of the day, and I have been playing some video games, and in the past, I have enjoyed video games. In the recent present, I've begun to think of them as a distraction, or basically associating bad, putting that moral judgment of like, I'm not being productive, I'm sitting playing video games, I'm bad. But it took someone else, my wife, being like, you're enriching your life. That's an enjoyment opportunity for you. That's not necessarily bad. Just shifting that in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm not a bad person doing this thing, being lazy, all of the negative value judgments associated with just this task of doing something. Switching it to like, oh, this is something that brings me joy. It's enriching my life. Kind of completely changes the way it makes me feel. just using that language to put like moral judgments on a thing, an act, can lead me down one way or another. And so having someone else to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's also not necessarily a good thing. Was able to kind of take me out of my own head. Have you ever had that, I don't know, problem where you get stuck in a negative rut of self-thought? And how do you have any tools to break out of that? What's worked for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I want to say, talk on that. And then, that came up, me wanting to ask you, well, so how did you change that? How did you make playing video games and getting that entertainment value? How did you make that into something positive? So for me, what that looks like is it really connects to my larger vision now, because there are things that I don't want to spend my time with. Every minute of my day in general is for, not, it's like for a purpose, but it all serves me. Like I don't do anything that doesn't serve me, except there are times where I'm like, where I can be, well, at least lately, and for the past I don't know, at least, I don't know, years, I'm not really sure what the time is, but I guess I've been just so kind of, I've consciously, I don't know, it's hard to say, because I guess maybe I had a period before where I was doing a lot more things like going out. So I guess there's the college time. I came out of college maybe 5 years ago now. It was 2013, so in 2020. Wow, I guess that's more like 7 years ago now. And in that time, and there was like a couple years before that when I started as a sophomore is when I kind of had my, you could call it an awakening, you call it just this giant shift, that aha moment where I decided that I was going to make every part of my life meaningful from now on. I wasn't going to try to follow others so much. Like I was going to do what I wanted to do. And I like that you brought up video games, because video games is one of those things that I was very, negative on. And like, when I think like, because I had roommates and they'd play a lot of video games, I think like, what a waste of time. Like why, or like me, like I wouldn't, like I don't want to waste my time. Like for me, it's a waste of time. But that's because, and I play games a lot. We play Call of Duty all the time, man. And I played zombies, like hours and hours of zombies, and it's so much fun playing that with my roommates. And it was like amazing, We had like, what a great way for us to connect, and we just had so much fun. But it was a different part of my life then, and now, like, but like just for me, like when I play video games, I just get bored quickly. And that's why I associate playing video games as like a negative thing. Like, why would anyone waste their time? But one of my older best friends, when he plays, he talks about the narrative of the game, and he talks about like the storytelling in the games and like how much enrichment he gets from it. And so I've been able to, I changed, and I don't think, they're just dumb for everyone. I can, there's things that people can get value from that we don't understand. Just because we don't get value from it doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It's just that there are things that we don't know other people's experience in life. They can get so much value for something that maybe we can't. So, yeah, but what I think I've done now is, really, because I think I bring that up too, because like really I think I'm at the place where I don't care what other people do. Like I see other people, and they, no matter how they live their life, even if they live in a negative way, I don't look at people and think, like, you suck, like your life, like why are you doing that? Why are you ruining your life for yourself? Like I'm more and more moving into just total acceptance, because what other people do really doesn't matter. Like, and there's no room for me to judge others and think about how negative they are. Like there's no room for me to do that, because it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve anyone. Like all I'm moving towards doing is accepting what other people are doing and accepting the way they are, and then seeing the good in them, seeing the positives. Like so many people, like I work in a grocery store, right? And there's a lot of people that work in grocery store generally that you might think, well, they don't have much of a life. They don't maybe have much value. But it's like every single person in this store, there's 50 50, 60 people. Like they all have, they're all such good people, and they bring joy to my life just by being there, by talking to me, having conversation. So in a summary, the way I do it is I don't pay attention to other people. I pay attention to what do I want to do? What do I want to do every day? I want to wake up, drink a cup of coffee. I want to read my book. I want to work on what I'm working on. So whether that is self-development, whether it's talking to my phone so I can spread my ideas and I can practice sharing my ideas and inspiring others, or whether it's working on my internship in this nonprofit, working on ways that I can write to influence and bring positivity to others that way, my work, and then it's working out and it's exercising. And that's what I do every day that brings me the decisions that I make that bring me to where I want to go. So also there's dance, going out with friends. I've also realized that you have to get out into doing other things like going out and taking a walk. I used to think that's negative. Why would I waste my time going out and doing something else? Well, some of my best ideas have come from walking out in nature, right?
Exactly. Getting that external energy, bringing something outside or going outside, it just changes everything. It just opens up possibilities.
Yeah. So the vision. I think the broader kind of your mission vision is almost, but it's such a hard balance. But I found such a good balance, and it's taken years. It's taken years and years now to kind of refine. And the vision's been the same: to spread good ideas, to be a big communicator, a better communicator. And that's what it's been. It's always been that. But as the years have gone on and my practice has developed, I figured out ways to practice that I want to practice. So that means that, dancing is a part of my practice. That means that like going out and talking to friends, friends that give me value, that helps in that vision. And doing the movement helps in that vision. And I'm at a place where it's just about, I'm saying no to everything that I don't want to do. And I'm learning how to say yes to the things I want to do, but I've learned how to really, it's what do I not want to do, and how do I get the things I don't want to do like away from me. I don't even know how to explain that fully. It's kind of an idea I heard from someone else, this guy Casey Neistat, but it's more of like, how can I just focus on doing the things that I just want to do and not really worry about anything else, not worry about anyone else.
So how do you find those things that you want to do? Are they things that align with your goals? How do you distill that down?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think, one trouble, I think everyone, they feel like they don't know what they want to do. They don't feel like, they say, well, this person, they're like an artist and they like paint every day and they put these beautiful pictures on Instagram, and this person, maybe even like, ORC, so passionate about like talking about his ideas and he's doing these things or whatever, or like, Tyler, he's doing a podcast and he teaches movement and he's offering all these different things to people. And then people think like, what can I do? I don't know what to do. I don't have anything. The thing is, I think that's bullshit. I think you do know what you want to do.
There's the self-talk right there, telling yourself that you don't have any value. Slip that right in. That's one way to flip that. Tell yourself you got that value. Please continue.
Yeah, you're just afraid. You're just afraid of doing that thing because you think that maybe you think, well, what's the point? Because if I do this, I'm never going to make money out of it. I'm never going to be a pro. So what's the point? It could be one thing. But it's like, but the doing of the thing, it's got to be, it's got to be for the present. Like it doesn't matter if it's going to like get you anywhere. That's what I was really stuck in for a long time. I was like, why should I practice music? Why should I practice writing? Is that going to get me anywhere? Is it going to like, make me money? Is it going to help me as a professional? There's this thing. It's like, but just doing and just doing the thing every day. Like that has to be the important thing. So I don't know. I think people just really got to think about what is that thing that you really want to do, and if you're not doing it, is it just because you're afraid? It's really just you're just afraid of why you can't do it.
Yeah, it's the journey based value system rather than the outcome. Not being married to what are all these things going to provide me in the future, instead of just like the act of doing a thing, the act of learning a skill, the act of doing an activity that brings me joy. Yeah, I think that's a lot to be said about adopting that mindset over just like, what is all this going to do in the future? And if it's not going to be perfect, why even start? That's my perfectionism. I got a whole bunch of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you talk more about that? Like, if it's not going to be perfect, if it's, I think that's another holdback because people think, well, you see someone who's so good at doing something all the time. You think, well, right now I suck. You do something, especially movement. You do a movement like, oh, I suck at this. What's the point?
Yeah.
How's that played for you, you think?
Yeah, that's like, yeah, I definitely struggle with that frustration of, movement is a good avenue of looking at people who, there's a beauty in a practice skill that looks effortless. And I'm just like, I want that. I want that in my life. And, I'm just like awkwardly moving around in my body. I'm just like, oh man, this sucks right now. But the mindset shift there is that being terrible, that being a beginner at something, that's like sucking at something is the first step to being kind of okay at something. And being kind of okay at something is, another step on being maybe good at something. And there is so much value in just trying a new thing in that learning process of sucking at something. I mean, that's like, life can be about just like sticking in my comfort zone of being in all the things that I'm pretty good at, or I can like try something new. And just telling myself that uncomfortableness of being bad at something can be good for me. That's a mindset shift for me, instead of just avoiding all the things that suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it made me think of a couple things. One is that you're never not going to suck at something. You may start doing something and you think you're bad at it, but the people that perform at the highest level are always trying to get better. Everyone who's at the very top, the best person is always trying to get better, and they always know that there's room for improvement. They're always self-critical. They're probably more self-critical than you are in your stage right now. So you don't even have the right to be. That's not, I'm going extreme here, but like you can't even say you're self-critical. You haven't even done anything difficult yet. You haven't even tried that hard. How can you be hard on yourself when you haven't even tried yet? But as you move on, it's that you're never at the top. Nothing. It's like, I think the reality is imperfection. The reality, there's this idea I got from one of my mentors, Michael Gavin. He says, take massive imperfect action. So it's that you're always taking action, a lot of action, and it's always, it's imperfect. You can't wait for something to be perfect because it's never going to be perfect. First of all, your action is never going to be perfect. So don't wait, take it, and then don't just take an action. You got to take massive action. You have to take a lot of it, because practice is what makes you better. Like, no amount of like thinking about something, no amount of wishing is going to make you better. It's only repetition. It's only doing and doing and doing. And then that kind of gets into this next. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that just brings up so much for me. I just think of like the skills where, like, with intuitive eating, eating in a way that isn't so scheduled, strict, routine, taking little steps, trying out the habits that I'm bad at, just baby steps are steps. They could go backwards, they could go forwards, but If I don't take them, then I don't go anywhere. Then I never know when it might be a great leap if I don't start moving.
Yeah. What are some things you're doing with your eating right now?
Yeah.
Like examples.
Take away from the pots and pans in the background.
Yeah. I'm just gonna shift locations here. You know, COVID-19 times. Everyone's around.
There you go. Bring it outside. Bring in that sun.
Yeah. Oh, here. Sorry. Let me show you this while we're in transition mode over here. Man, I've got this beautiful backyard, and but this is. Oh man, maybe I should take. I got the blur thing on. I don't know how to take that off.
It
Let's
does
just
look
skip
pretty
it. But
slick.
in short, you know, I've got these roadies that are about to bloom. You can see them blurry, you know, and
It's so cinematic.
I'm just gonna make my way over to my little porch over here. Okay, bro. Sorry. Yeah.
Boom. Ooh, nice shirt. Ever make mistakes in life? Oh, what's the bottom say? Ever make mistakes?
Let's make them birds now. Yeah, let's make them birds. Yeah, they're birds now.
Oh, yes.
Maybe it's birds.
Yeah,
Make mistakes.
Yeah. Going back to that massive imperfect action, that just brings up an image of just like getting in a rocket ship for the moon, and then just like instead of like waiting for everything to align perfectly, just like shooting off at an angle, just having a grand blast off into space. And maybe I brought a whole bunch of junk in that rocket with me, and on my way into space, I just have to like put it all together in a different way to like get me where I want to go. It's the line of progress, you know, the one that's like here's where you want to be, and it's just the squiggles everywhere. The journey. Yeah. So taking steps in areas that scare me, like just having food in my house. They're like, oh, there's a cake baked. We're just gonna have that in my house. Okay, that's cool. We're gonna have ice cream. We're just gonna leave it in the fridge or leave it in the freezer. Oh my goodness, that's terrifying. Yeah, just pausing when I'm eating, just sitting with a plate of food instead of just like eating standing in the kitchen. Those are just like little skills that I have to practice. You know, life puts me in a situation and I develop habits to take care of myself. Some of them serve me in the moment and some of them don't going forward. So if I want to change, I have to take those little steps to address where I want to be, how I want to feel. Even when it's really scary sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm always scared on if I'm good enough, you know. I'm always afraid that I'm not good enough.
Oh yeah. That's a deep one.
You know, like I hope so bad that I'm doing enough to get to where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that shifts and changes. But you know, I'm gonna be honest, like the past few months, 4 or 6 months, like I've just been right on. Like I haven't felt that way for a while. Like I felt like I really feel like so in tune with being in like the right place. And it's not because of the work that I've been doing. Like it's not because I've been doing more work necessarily. It's all been coming down to an acceptance. To this acceptance of just where I am, faith in my plan, looking at past evidence that can support a feeling of acceptance. And then so it kind of goes into this thought that I think of heaven. You know, we think about heaven and like what that is, and we think that heaven is perfect. You know, heaven is a place of perfection. Maybe it's a place that you go to when you die. You know, maybe heaven isn't here, you know, like heaven's somewhere out there. But and there's the idea of perfection, and we see that in others. We think of the perfect life. What is the perfect life? We visualize what would that look like for us.
The one without all of my problems. The one without them.
Yeah, the one without if it was me without my problems, that's perfection. That's heaven.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this idea, and it's not a new idea or anything, but it's one that I've come to be able to accept more and more, is that heaven is imperfect. Heaven is here right now. The kingdom of God is within us. And that doesn't mean that we have to go anywhere to get it. It means that it's in us right now. And it doesn't mean that we need to change to realize it. It means that we are perfect right now. That in our imperfection, we are perfect. That everything we do is perfect. And it's such an extremely difficult idea to believe. But I just know it's true. I know it's the reality. I know that there's nowhere else that it's like in movement. It's like when we were talking about trying to do things to get better. You're always gonna feel like there's another place to go. You're always gonna feel like you can get better. But what we all have in common, from the best of the best to the beginner, is that feeling of improvement. When we feel like we got a little bit better, or we feel that moment of flow, that's all there is. There's always improvement. There's always getting better. There's always getting worse. But what never changes is that throughout the entire journey, we feel those steps of elation, of perfection. But it doesn't come from doing anything. It comes because those moments are always there. Those moments are always attainable. The moment. So you don't have to be good. You don't have to be a beginner. You don't have to be the best. But that moment of perfection is always attainable. It's always here. So that means that that moment is here always, no matter if you're moving or. So that's what we are. We are that perfection, that love in action always. So we can always come back to that and know that everything's okay. Every moment is a new moment. Every new moment is untainted. It's all real and all loving and all omniscient, omnipresent. So we can come back to that.
That reminds me of a wonderful thing that I write in my journal almost every day, which is that I can choose again. There's always another moment coming up, and if I didn't like what I did before, I can always make another choice. Yeah. So you mentioned of how hard of a concept it is to believe that you are this perfection, that we are this perfection. What have you done to really internalize that for yourself? How can you believe it? It's crazy.
Yeah. It's simpler than people may think. Thing is, it didn't come from some lightning strike, and I'm like, oh, I guess it didn't come from a near-death experience. It didn't come from something from out there, from the ethics. What it came from was practice. I practiced believing this, and through my practice, I found evidence. Through my practice, I was able to believe this, and it all comes down to my thoughts. It comes down to my thought patterns. And I'm reading this book by a psychologist. His name's David Siegel. Wrote this book called Mindsight, and I'm in the middle of it right now. And he's a neurobiologist and psychotherapist. So he knows a lot about the brain and the way that neurons work and they fire together. And he also provides therapy, psychotherapy for people that are going through emotional. There's one patient, she was very emotionally cold, and her parents were super cold and couldn't feel anything. She was about to die. She was 90 years old and was going to die soon, but she wanted to feel something again. So he helped to like help her to feel those emotions by doing body scanning was a way to start. He didn't know how to scan her body. Like she didn't know how to focus on her hands and feel life in her hands. Didn't know how to focus on the heart and feel the heart. And that's something that a lot of people, they have never tried to do before. They've never tried to focus their energy on anything outside of their thoughts, but really bring it into their body, and feel what their body feels like.
So let's get an example of that. So tell me more about body scanning. What is this body scan? How can I do this?
Well, one way I do this is through a meditation technique. It has a long form and has a short form, but the way it goes, what it's called the Men-Ob meditation. And in basic, what it is, it's a way to rewire your brain, rewire your thinking. And this thing that David Siegel, he brings up, he talks about neurons in the brain. When you have an experience, certain neurons fire. And when they fire together in that group, it makes them more likely that they're going to fire again. So, when you have an experience, you're more likely to do that experience again. And the impact, the quality of the experience of the neurons firing, it releases a coating on your neurons called myelin, and it's like a coating, it's like a sheath, and it increases the conductivity of your neurons firing. So hearing that doesn't mean much. It's kind of one funny thing I'm thinking about in science too. It's you can hear all this stuff about brain working, but it's who cares? And you can hear all this stuff about emotional technique, and it's who cares? I don't know. You just got to do the thing.
Can I use it?
Yeah. But so this technique is one of the most important things I've ever done. Most important things I've ever learned, concepts I've ever realized. And in short, it's when you're just going throughout the day. Let's go mid version first. Mid version is something. Okay, no, I guess I got to start somewhere else. So say you're meditating at night. Say you have a nightly meditation practice, and where maybe you sit and you meditate for 10 minutes, and you sit. You're in a still place. So when you're in that place, after you get into say a flow, or say you get into a piece, a place of deep peace. Uh-oh.
Gotcha.
Okay, so some screen popped up for me. You're in the deep peace, and what you want to do is you want to bring up a negative situation that happened that day, or that happens in life a lot. What is that situation? Maybe there's a person that you fight with daily. Maybe there's a situation that you feel bad about doing. Maybe there was an awkward situation. You were awkward with a person. Something happened and you felt really awkward. You didn't know how to act. For me, it was fighting with one of my good friends. We were business partners. We fight all the time. And so what I do is I bring up that situation. I bring up that negative situation, and then I feel it in my body, because it creates an emotional response. So the thing that we know about the mind, this is what Dr. Maxwell Marx came up with, another very famous psychotherapist, one of the most famous self-help authors, talks about the theater of the mind. And the theater of the mind, it's that the mind doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking and what's actually happening out in real life. The mind doesn't know the difference. So when you bring up these situations, what happens? Say you're fighting with your friend, you're going to get an emotional response in your body that would be just like when you're fighting with them in real life. Okay, so that emotional response would come up, and I'd feel it, and it would be up in the chest. When I have anger, the emotions that comes up in the chest. And a lot of times, think of our emotions, we can't control them. We don't know what to do with them. What this meditation does is you sit, you're in that place of stillness, the emotions come up, and then you figure out, where is it? Is it in my gut? Is it maybe in my lower pelvic regions? If I feel nervous about something, it's usually a lot lower. If I feel angry, it's up higher, maybe in the throat. So identify where that is, and then when you do that, you're able to observe that emotion. So that emotion it's no longer who you are, it's now something observable. It's something that you're able to step back from, and you can say, okay, I feel this emotion in my chest here, there it is. And so just the simple act of doing that allows you to separate yourself from that. and you can observe it more as like, okay, this isn't something that controls me. This is just an emotional response that's happening in my body. And here it is, I can identify it.
Yeah. So it's basically just like sit there, meditate, kind of clear my mind, get to a place where I can just kind of be, and then intentionally think of something that was shitty or hard during the day, during the week, inviting that in and just thinking about it, replaying that, going back to that place, and just feeling where in my body that stirs up something. So,
wait, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Because now we've identified the problem, but now how do we correct it? So the next part is how we can actually correct it. Let's say you rewire your emotional response to this situation. So yeah, the first step, you're exactly right. You're bringing it up and you're accepting it. You're accepting that feeling. You're not trying to fight it. See, a lot of times we want to fight our emotional response in life. We want to fight it. We want to say, no, I'm not going to feel that way. No, I don't want to think that way. This gives us an opportunity to let it come in. We feel it. And then we accept and we say, it's okay. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's okay that I'm angry. Okay, it's okay that I felt like I didn't have control. It's okay that I feel helplessness. That's okay. This is a big, huge thing, is being able to accept and knowing that the shit that you think is okay because it's normal, it happens. And it's okay because you can correct it. Okay, you can't correct it though unless you accept that it's happening and you accept that it's okay. So you accept it, say, that's okay. I'm feeling this way, that's okay. And then the final step is you're going to think and you're going to visualize how you would act differently or the exact opposite of the situation that happened. So me, I'm with my friend and I've identified the feeling and the emotion is dissipated because I've identified it and I'm accepting that that's okay to think. Now I'm going to sit and I'm going to visualize what I'm going to do when that situation happens again. So first, instead of feeling tense, instead of getting mad, instead of feeling my emotions bubble up to what he's saying to me, I'm just imagining myself and I'm feeling the emotions of being calm, of being it okay for someone else to talk to me, like being it okay of a trigger happening and me just being okay and just like my energy's sitting low. I feel myself there and I'm visualizing myself sitting there in my chair, relaxed, and just him talking and me just feeling okay. I'm visualizing him talking and me feeling okay and being okay.
Yeah. So it's almost like training it's almost like training yourself to react how you would like to react given that situation again in the future.
Because your mind doesn't know the difference. Your mind knows no difference. And practice. So you gotta practice those situations that come up, and then practice how you do better. And then, there's also thinking, the opposite. If you weren't able to control yourself doing something, if you couldn't do something that you did, then you're thinking about doing the opposite of that. Whether it's not doing it, or maybe it's doing something else. Like literally, if doing something triggers you to want to do something, then you think and you visualize what you would do doing something else. The way that you would feel about it, the way that you would look when you walked about it, the way that all those things. And so I've done this. I've been doing this for years, and it's like been the key for me. Like I go and talk to my friend, and I act that way. I think about, and then I use visualization all the time. Like before I'm going to have a business meeting, like it's all going through, and I just practice, and then when I do, it comes out. But that's just this Menob meditation. It's a hardwired way to like really rewire your brain so that you act differently in those situations that affect you the most.
Yeah, just by experiencing them in your body, essentially. Scanning for the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Visualization. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah. So what about you? Does that bring up anything maybe in your life?
Yeah, it definitely brings me to I have my go-to I guess reaction for especially around food related things is shame, because I had a lot of shame as a child for, like feeling unwanted when my siblings came into the picture and then using food to cope. So I felt a lot of shame around that. And so when I'm like not eating in a way that I think I should or holding myself to a standard where I think I should be, that shame comes up. And so I can already think of how a really good way to use this is to sit down and actually experience that, put myself in those situations where I felt, or maybe I ran away from the shame. I just busied myself. I threw myself into work or something like that and actually feel those feelings, feel that shame, and bless that part of myself, accept it unconditionally. Know that that's part of the human experience to feel shame, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And to think of how I can show up without shame. That's something that I'm holding on to. It's a relic. It's like you said, those nerves have been firing for a long time, and I don't have to live that way. It doesn't have to be so shitty. And I also think of just how like this visualization is such a powerful process, in like group settings, in facilitation work, through all kinds of places. I've sat in the Mankind Project circles for a while now, but I see it in all kinds of other healing modalities, therapy and hypnotherapy and pretty much anything wellness and woo-woo. There's an element of visualization because, like you said, the brain is so powerful and we don't know the difference between what's actually happening and the story that I'm telling myself. I tell myself every day I'm a pink elephant. Eventually, I'm just gonna believe I'm a pink elephant. So, yeah, I've seen amazing things happen by just visualization, going back, experiencing, looking at the thought patterns that come up, adding in new messages, things like that. Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's all practice, you're practicing seeing things a different way, and then that's how it comes. You visualize yourself as a pink elephant, you get that. You visualize yourself as a hero, and you get that. And I think the whole, it's like there are like a lot of, I guess, some kind of like concepts. There's some core concepts that I've like thought of, but so much, I've just been realizing more and more, it just comes down to action. It comes down to like just practice and action and repetition. Like I want to get rid of this mystery and stigma that like self-love and positivity and all of this stuff has something to do with like some kind of spiritual, I mean, it is a spiritual transformation, but like that is something really difficult to do. Because really, like, all I've done is read some books. I mean, really, it's just been, like, reading. Yeah, reading. And then a lot of these books, they have techniques to try, things to do. And then that's how I've become me. It's like I've just read stuff. It almost feels like too easy. It's like, but all I did, I just read stuff. And I've practiced stuff, and I've, like, followed my heart. And then I've been able to feel so good about life and like what I'm doing, who I am. But the only thing that I can tell to anyone is, we started off with we're talking about like like a discipline, or talking about things that you can do. We talked about like people are afraid to maybe be an artist, or they're afraid to, start computer programming, or afraid to like do stuff like that. It just takes a little bit every day. It just takes daily action. It takes daily practice. And then patience, too. I think maybe patience is another one of the big ones. And it's something that I really love Gary Vee for. And what he says, he talks about patience a lot. He's like 44 now. And he's been building, for years and years and years. He's been like, working and working. And he's so good about telling people, especially kids, and saying like, you're like 23 years old and you think you should be a millionaire by now, And when I was 23, I thought that too. I'm like, hell yeah, 5 years I'm going to be a millionaire, no problem. Like, that's what I'm going to do. But I feel now more that like my life is long, and I love just taking action every day, but not worrying if it's like, I kind of, as a byproduct, do a lot of stuff and take a lot of action because I have a lot of practice doing it, because I'm totally on my path and I know exactly what I need to do to get there. And I plan every single day, every single night I plan out my next day, just in my mind. I think about what I'm going to do. And then I do that. I think about how I'm going to feel, and I feel that. I think about how I'm going to walk and how I'm going to talk and how I'm going to interact with people. I think about that every night. And that's what I do the next day. And it's just very simple like that. It's just practicing in my mind and then bringing that when that comes up, I just automatically do stuff. That's why I don't feel nervous anymore. Especially when it comes to people. It's like my mind is so quick because I practice really not the words, but I practice the feelings. I think that's the most important thing, is practicing your emotions. Because when you have the right, emotional set, then everything else just comes out kind of naturally.
Yeah, and I definitely want to speak from my own experience and anyone else who might feel the same way, that like it could be intimidating, thinking about, oh man, this guy plans his whole next day. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's like, oh, that's way too much. It doesn't mean that because you do it that I have to do it. That's just like, you've got your things that I'm looking at the end product, the end result of all of your experiences. You found things that work for you, and this is where you are at. And I know I've definitely fallen in the trap myself of like, this guy, he has all the answers. He's got it all figured out. I just got to do things like he does. But that's right back at the beginning, just like, I don't need to compare myself to anyone else. I just need to do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, you got to do what you want to do because you're everyone. Like, you're good enough. You're more than good enough. Like, you're all there is. Not just you're good enough, you're all there is. You have to be. Like, how can this life be any other way? How can it just, like, it can't, because you don't know anyone else. You don't know anyone else's thoughts. You don't know anyone else's feelings. You don't know anyone else's body. There's no one else out there. There's only you out there. You're the only thing that exists here. What's going on in your mind. And you can choose one of two ways, I think. Yeah, there's gray area, but it's like, there's also the catch-22, the duality of the universe. But you got to decide, is the universe is it here to serve you, or is it here to kill you? Is it here to, like, not serve you? Is suicide going to help you? When you die, are you going to go to some place that's better? Or are you going to be stuck in the same? Are you going to live in a next life where you're still in hell? Death, is death an answer? Is death going to bring you somewhere that you're not? I don't think so. There's just one, there's one mind. There's one mind, and that's the mind that you're experiencing. Everything else has equal weight, but you can let them alone. You can leave them be, If you were them, wouldn't you want to just be left alone to do your own thing? Like, wouldn't you want to be able to be accepted if you were them? That's the golden rule. You wouldn't want someone else thinking that you suck, thinking that you're great. You would just want everyone else to accept you as you are. Because you're them. You're them too. And that's what you would want for yourself. That's what you want for them. And that's what they want for you. And you got to know that that's what they want for you, because that's what you want. Whatever you want is what they want. No one can fuck with you. No one can mess with you. There's no one out there. Nobody's thoughts can mess with you. Nobody's actions they can't mess with you. They can't bring you down. Yeah, it happens, of course. The relationships, things, they happen. But in reality, you know that the thoughts you have that you can accept and reject thought. Yes, they take you over sometimes, but we practice accepting and reinforcing the thoughts that we want.
Mm.
We make those our reality. And the thoughts that we don't want, we say, no, I don't want that. No. It's happening. I feel it, it's happening. I accept it, but no, I don't believe that. I want my thoughts. The universe loves us. God loves us. I love me. Why? Because I love me. God loves me. How could it not? How could it not want the best for me? We know we can see everything. We can see everything two ways, as it serving us or not. I got fucked a lot of times by my own best friends. My own best friends fucked me. But it's like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I am where I am now. A lot of things have been like, no, that sucks, but I knew it was for the best and it turned out that way. So even someone dying, you can look at it like, my life is over too. Or is there some way you can move past it with love? That has to be the way it is.
You just practice believing that train of thought.
Yeah. How do you practice? Thinking, praying, and meditating. To me, prayer is thought. Every thought's a prayer. Every single thought you think is a prayer. That's why every single thought's so important. You can't not give weight to thoughts. Everything you think matters. When you're a little baby and your mother rejects you for 3 months, like that's gonna have an impact on you for the rest of your life. Things that you don't even remember. So everything subconsciously around you that's happening is affecting you always. So you gotta. That's why you have to control your environment. You can do that. You can choose your environment. You got to choose your thoughts. You got to control those things. Like, you have the power. You have the control. So you be conscious of that and not just let it run amok. Because if you do, that's your fault. And it's not that you're a bad person, but you can change. You just have to remember that it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it because you can change. Because there's the future. Because you can change. So everything's all good. Wherever you are is good because you can change. But you just got to remember that you can.
I can choose again.
Yeah. Every day, every moment. Oh man, that felt good. Felt good to say that.
You went somewhere, yeah.
I went somewhere. I keep feeling like I'm going somewhere, and then and then I just get kind of lost. Just start going off somewhere else. Preaching. Call this preacher RC here.
Yeah. Preaching RC with that positivity. That's what we're here for. Yeah.
So
like,
what's next on our agenda? Oh yeah.
I don't know. That seems like a pretty full plate. I think it's just like reinforcing the messages that I thought of the silly analogy of the stick that I beat myself up with could also be a back scratcher. It's just like all of the terrible thoughts I think about myself. I can, if I inscribe them on the stick and I recognize like, oh yeah, that's another one of those things I think about myself. Is that really serving me thinking that? I don't have to do that. I don't have to think that way. I can remember that I love myself. I can remember that I'm awesome. I can remember that I'm the hero. And just coming back to that, just coming back to those cornerstones. Remember that not my thoughts. I can choose again. All of those little things, just.
And then take some action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they think like, oh, I can just think stuff. Yeah, that doesn't work. That's stupid. That stuff is dumb. Well, you can't just think yourself good. Yeah, you're right. You can't. You got to do shit. You have to work really fucking hard. You have to work really fucking hard. As hard as you've ever worked before. That's the only way it's going to happen. Like, you have to be disciplined and you have to do the shit. You have to do it every day. This isn't easy stuff. It's not easy. Talking about it's easy. but the actual doing is very difficult. So I don't
That's
want
true.
anyone out there watching thinking you can just talk yourself into feeling great. You got to do some shit. You know, you got to choose your discipline. You got to work at it every day, and you got to do the meditations, visualize. You got to do that stuff.
Yeah, life is meant to be experienced. I know there's a huge translation gap between all the wonderful thoughts I think in my head, and then like even trying to form that out into words can be completely different sometimes. I'm just like, oh right, so that's another thing to practice is actually translating wonderful thoughts and concepts into this thing, this art, this tool of speech.
Yeah, man, you're an amazing writer. Like you're such a good, like you're so smart and like funny with the things that you write to me. Like I can't even believe a lot of the times like the stuff that you write to me. Like yesterday after you said the cornerstone thing, I was like for 10 minutes I was trying to think of like a good funny thing to come back with, and I couldn't really think of it. But you're just like on those.
And I just thought that was a great way to put it. Like as I'm talking, you're just like, you're such a great writer. Yeah, I'm always writing scripts in my head. Everything that makes my experience is all being written in my head, and so it's practice. It's to bring it out into words and to express it into the world and make it a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I started, my speaking been a lot of practice. It definitely was natural too. You know, like I was writing a lot, and the first time like I started speaking about stuff, it really came out really, really naturally too. Like I really love like the video. Like I love speaking on video. Like I love talking like this. So yeah, for me, like that's kind of how I express best too. You know, at least for these kind of, but yeah, these kinds of ideas. Like I had a sales job, you know, where I learned how to talk with inflection. You know, to pause, and you know but I learned that stuff too. You know, I learned. You know, you like talk fast and you talk slow, and then you speak in like a high voice and a low voice, and it's just like, you know, like that's how that's how you hold people's attention, like talking like that. So, yeah, it's all practice, man. And like live is scary for me, you know, like this is like, a lot of times I get on live, like even in the room over there, I'm talking, you know, and like my dad's over there, my brother comes in, and like, you know, it like makes me like nervous, and I start kind of losing my train of thought, not being able to think very well, or sometimes if I'm on live,
it's gotta be perfect.
Up, like in the middle of a thought, then I'm like, oh god, like I start losing it. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, I remember the first time I was inspired enough to just jump on I think it was Facebook Live and talk about whatever was coming up for me. I don't think anyone actually watched it, but I was still terrified to do it.
Yeah. Until it's not. Maybe
Until it's not. Yeah.
I see so many people, they like start live and they're just like, yeah, I'm just on live. Whenever like me, like I think, you know, like I come up with like all these bullet points or like stuff I'm going to talk about, and then try to sequence it and tell a story. But that's also who I am, you know. I'm a storyteller, so I like to like have like make everything meaningful. Like there's a point, a purpose to everything, and what I'm trying to do is make these practices actionable for people somehow. You know, I don't want to just like say stuff. Like I want to find a way that people can like use this stuff.
Yeah, make it accessible. Have something that people can actually take away from just this guy read a lot of books.
Yeah. Okay, bro. Should we call it a wrap?
Yeah, I think we're coming up on an hour here, and that seems like a nice solid bit of good verbiage, good wordage, good talk writing. I really appreciate the bit about the meditation, because meditation can be such a vague thing. It can just, there's like, oh, you just sit and you meditate. Having direction for something that is not necessarily direction, it certainly helps me out.
Yeah, same, man, same. Yeah, the Menab. That's like one of the best things I've got so far is like that meditation. And the shortest version you can do in life is just like if you start thinking about something bad, say you have like a negative thought, then you're like negative thought. Oh, it's okay. And then you go to the acceptance. Oh, it's okay. So it's starting to rain a little bit, but then you think the opposite. Then you just think the opposite. You just like, oh, negative thought. Because instead of like, oh, negative thought, stupid, damn it, okay, think of something good. Okay, no, negative thought. Okay, that's okay. It's okay. Now what do I actually want to think? What do I actually think about this situation? So that's like the quick
Nice.
technique.
That's a good way. That's a nice little button, little pin to put in it, a ribbon, if you will, to wrap it up with.
A ribbon. Nice. Yeah.
Accept.
Okay. That sounds good.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, thanks
RC,
a lot, bro. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's awesome.
Awesome. There'll be more talks in the future. This was fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for speaking with me once again, and I look forward to our future adventures.
Yeah, dude. You gotta get outside. Woo!
Yeah. Thank you. Till next time.
Thank you, bro. See you next time.